We have reached the halfway point of Minnesota Dynasty Season 5, and before we get into the second half of the season, beginning with a big game against Northwestern, I want to sit down and talk recruiting. I haven't shared a lot of recruiting information with you guys this season, and so this is a good time to break down the board and talk about the team's major needs. Before we get into that more, I want to talk about strengths, and I think the biggest strength we have on this team are the playmakers on offense. I think we've been very good at running back and receiver for a while, but now we finally have the quarterback meant to fit this offense, and Andy McKenzie has been a lot of fun. He's got a great arm, the running mobility is awesome. At the halfway point, he has 11 touchdown passes with only 2 interceptions, and Kevin Martindale, our starting halfback, is on pace for over 1,000 yards and is averaging 7 yards a carry thanks to runs like these. But I think with only 2 seniors starting on this offense, there's a lot of room for it to get better. Now let's switch gears and talk about defensive strengths, which I think our biggest one is our secondary talent, led by Sam Graves, who is a senior on the outside. No interceptions, but he's been pretty good in coverage. And I like our safety tandem as well, with Andre Gaines and the redshirt freshman Corey Boyd, who I think has been pretty solid in coverage. But on that note, I want to switch it up now and talk about struggles. Not very many players on our defense are standing out. I think our major standout at this point would be Deniro last year with his interceptions and plenty of tackles for loss. But I have been really underwhelmed by our front 7. We are strongest at defensive tackle and we have 2 seniors starting at linebacker, but we're still having a lot of problems against the run and we're not pressuring the quarterback. Through 6 games, we have 6 sacks. That's not enough. With that being said, the main focus in recruiting now is the front 7, linebackers and pass rushers, so we can get better against the run and make things easier on our secondary. Now going back to offense, our other big weakness is the offensive line. Andy McKenzie's dealing with way too much pressure in the pocket, taking way too many sacks, and it's holding our offense back from going to that next level. Our vertical passing game isn't where I would like it, and I would attribute these weaknesses mainly to my inability to build depth in the early years of this dynasty, and now we're kind of paying the price because 2 true freshmen are starting at guard. We have some youth on this offensive line, so it does give me some hope that it will get better. Here's a look at the depth chart, and you can see out of the 5 starting offensive linemen, 2 are true freshmen and 1's a redshirt sophomore. I think it's going to get better, but it's going to take some time. Jumping back to defense now, 7 of our starters are seniors, including 5 members of the front 7. I have an idea of who's going to be replacements for these guys graduating, so I'm not really concerned about getting true freshmen that can start, but I still want to build this front 7 and get some better impactful linebackers and better pass rushers, so our defense is more of a complete unit and not just relying on secondary players to make big plays. So now, it's time to finally get into the recruiting side of things in our board. And we don't have any commits so far in this recruiting class. We still have 15 holes to fill with graduates. So now, here is our current board and the top 7 prospects, which are all defensive players, every last one of them, and we'll get into these guys individually. First, let's go defensive end. As I said, we need to get some pass rushers. Jeff Robinson, 6'5", 260, a 4-star prospect. This is what I want, a guy who can shed blocks, has decent speed, he's all around very solid. This is a guy who I want to be a building block of this defense. Next, 6'4", 255, Greg Kelly, who we're in the lead for. He's another guy who's just all around very solid. The acceleration stands out to me, and these are a couple of the guys I want the most out of this recruiting class. I also try to keep some backup plans on the board in case 1 or 2 of the guys that I want at a position don't work out, but hopefully we can get those difference makers at defensive end. Now outside linebacker, and one of the guys I really wanted to get, J.J. Smart, is already committed to Michigan State. And one of the traits I'm valuing most in the linebackers I'm looking at is block shedding. We have to get better at getting off blocks and stopping the ball carrier, and there's still guys on the board who could do that. 6'5" linebacker from Minnesota, Reggie Carter. He's got the size and speed, the hit power I like, block shedding is there, and decent in coverage. If we can get him to commit, he'd easily be one of the best players in our recruiting class. Another very good linebacker, Josh Mackey. He's 6'3". We have a big lead on this 4-star linebacker. Not the fastest, but great acceleration, decent in coverage again, great tackler. I'm really banking on us getting those 2 outside linebackers. We'll jump ahead to safety now. Not a major need, but there's still some really good prospects on the board, like LaShawn Smith, who I think would be better as an in-the-box safety. Not a great guy in coverage, but a very, very good tackler. The other safety on the board is Mike Moore from Quebec, Canada. And one thing I look for as safeties is guys who have range, and Corey Boyd has some speed, and so does Mike Moore. Eventually, we're going to need Andre Gaines' replacement in the next couple of years. Now let's focus on some athletes, guys who are very versatile. We'll start it off with Calvin Hall, 6'2", 205. I have him as a safety or a corner, and I would lean putting him at safety because of that speed being very intriguing, and he's better in zone than man, and I think we already have some decent corners who haven't even played a snap yet. Another athlete who could be a safety or a cornerback is 6'2", Nathan Newton, and he just comes with a very complete skill set, I think, as a defensive back, so he can play wherever I need him to play. We'll come back to the athletes later. Let's go with defensive tackles as we have two guys graduating. Here is Max Harrell, who kind of fits the mold of the defensive tackles already on the roster, along with Reggie Stovall. Now these guys aren't big, but they're prospects who would sit and develop for a while, and they come with pretty good skill sets. Going back to an athlete, we have 6', 252 Vincent Walker from Minneapolis, who I would probably put as an inside linebacker. Looking at the skills, he would be a very good run stopper, but he doesn't have the speed I like for my guys on the outside, but he can still find a home in the middle. And now an offensive player, actually. I haven't talked about them much today. Gerald Valentine, who could be a running back, a receiver, or even a linebacker, but I'd probably put him on offense somewhere, and I'm not sure where. Maybe some sort of hybrid type of role with those elusive abilities, the juking, and then the pass catching as well. So that's a versatile guy in offense, and I love versatility. And so that is kind of a quick look at the main guys on my recruiting board. And don't mind the points right now, I'm going to be working with those, but I like to put a lot of points into the guys I have big leads on, because I'm trying to get guys to commit before the season's over. I don't want to have to scramble in the offseason and roll the dice with a bunch of guys left on the board. I want to get some guys now, and I believe that approach worked really well last year, and I think the best season of recruiting in this dynasty. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video as a kind of bridge between the first and second half of the season. I wanted to talk about recruiting, and I really haven't touched it much in the first 6 games, so now you kind of understand what our approach is and what I'm trying to accomplish with this recruiting class. Very heavily focused on defense and the front 7. Those outside linebackers I showed, those are the 2 guys I want the most. They're big guys who just, I think, would be awesome on our defense, and so combine them with Maurice Hudson, we could have 3 big, scary linebackers, and then if we can get some pass rushes on this team, then we're talking about a pretty scary defense. But thanks for watching, guys. Next up, it's Minnesota versus Northwestern as we begin the second half of Season 5. We're 3-3. Obviously, a little underwhelming so far, but still a lot of season left to be played. Thank you guys for watching. Leave your feedback below in the comment section. What do you think of my recruiting board, and which players do you think would help us the most? Let me know down in the comment section. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you have not already. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you next time against Northwestern. Have a great day.